Welcome back to Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Corey King, and I'm here with RSU baseball head coach, Chris Klimas. Chris, pleasure having you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Coach, we're going to go ahead and go flash back a little bit to spring of 2024. Baseball finished on a high note, getting into the MIAA tournament, getting the 6th seed. Tell us about your overall feelings and thoughts on the 2024 season.
The MIAA is a tough league, and so anytime you can end up in the postseason, it's a good thing. And we went through some adversity, had to fight some things, and to find a way to get there again. I think we've made the tournament every year we've been in the MIAA, and so to get there is quite a challenge. I mean, it's not that way in every league, but in our league in particular, it's extremely challenging because every weekend is a beast. And so to get there, and I thought we played well and we played hard, and we had some guys that were dinged up at the end, and we had to fight to get there. And the way the tournament has been set up in the past, where you got to go play a best-of-3 series on the road, it's tough because home field advantage in our league is the real deal. And so when you're going on the road and you're playing one of those top 4 teams, you got your hands full. And I thought we went up there and represented well, played well. I thought it was important to the guys. They played hard and just came up a little bit short. But Pitt State was a really good club.
And you talking about home field advantage is incredibly important, and obviously our field is different than most fields, and Pitt State being where they're about swinging it for the fence all the time, so it does make a huge difference. Yeah. But you talked about how tough the MIAA is. Coming into the last weekend of regular season play, we had an opportunity to be all the way up at the top 3 seed where we're hosting, or if things didn't go our way, we've been not out of the playoffs altogether. Talk about what it's like to coach in a situation where there's so much uncertainty and there's only so much that you can control, and how you get to keep the fellas' minds focused.
Yeah, you got to control when you can control, and when you got an opportunity to win, you better find a way to finish in our league, because if you drop one, slip one that you shouldn't, and you give one away, they're hard to make up. They're hard to catch. Because everybody's off and running. And so it's a difficult league. And when you play 3 nines on the weekend, those are long weekends, because you're really stretching out and testing your pitching staff. And the way Division II is, you're limited on scholarships, so everybody's stretched out. So it's really kind of a race to, who can extend their starters probably the most or do the most damage offensively. And we're built to win at our field because we play the majority of our games there. And so it's a challenge when you go on the road in our league, but trying to keep the guys hooked up. This next year we've got 2 midweek series that count as conference games. And so when you're playing a midweek conference game, 9 innings on Tuesday, and then you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 9-inning games, it's tough. Yeah. And you got to be really good in the starting rotation. You got to be really good on the back end of the bullpen. You got to be really good everything in between, and you're going to have to find a way to score some runs and push them across, because I think if you go look at the scores, there's a lot of high-stress games in there, low scoring or close games. Low scoring at our place, usually higher scoring on the road, but a lot of them are close. And you got to try to stay healthy and stay with it and keep everybody focused the whole way, because it's definitely not a sprint. I mean, baseball season is a marathon. You're starting that thing early February, you're finishing it up in May. So it's extremely challenging in this league.
No kidding. And there are some heavy hitters, all from top to bottom throughout the whole conference. But you guys were able to steal some really big wins against some top-ranked teams. Talk about what those mean to your ball club and how that can increase their confidence as they're continuing to push through conference play.
They're huge morale boosters because, like we've talked about here for the last few minutes, everybody in the league's good from top to bottom. I mean, everybody was alive to make the tournament the last weekend of the regular season with 3 games to play. And most leagues in the country in Division II can't say that. In our league, you had everybody alive with 3 games left to play. And so wins over those big teams like that, those are big morale boosters for your guys, because it shows you that you can go play with anybody. But it doesn't matter if you're playing the number 1 team in the league or the number 12 team in the league. They're all good. Yeah. But when you look at the standings, the top teams, they find ways to win, when they're not supposed to, and they win the games that they're supposed to. And that's kind of the separator in our league. But yeah, it's definitely fun playing the MIAA schedule, because you're going to play 3 or 4 nationally ranked teams every year just in conference play. And so you're going to have your hands full. But I think our guys are used to it. They kind of know what to expect now. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're changing leagues. Like, you're trying to learn how other teams play, how their ballparks play, how their coaches make decisions. And it takes some time. And I think we're finally starting to get to that point where we feel comfortable with what we're doing in our league.
And it's been amazing just to watch you guys play this type of competition week in and week out. It's thrilling and it's a lot of fun. And like you said, it's hard, it's difficult, but we wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah.
But as we are, closing out that year and we're walking up into a new year, into 24-25, just finished up fall activities, games. Talk about how the fall season is so important, even though it's not our championship season like spring. So what do you guys do to help prepare during the fall to get ready for the spring?
Well, we use the fall as an evaluation period because when we come back in the spring, you got about a week and a half before your first scrimmage and maybe 3 weeks before you're playing going live. And so you're sending the guys home for a couple of months over the break, hoping that they're doing what they're supposed to prepare themselves for coming back, and you don't have time to baby them into it. You got to go. So you kind of got to know what you're dealing with and who you've got, what your personnel is, who fits best where. And so in the fall, we spend a lot of time evaluating. We inter-squad, we scrimmage a lot because I think that's the most valuable thing, because you want to figure out, what your guys can do, what they're really good at, where they struggle, and where everybody kind of fits. And so the fall kind of establishes the pecking order for us. And so with being the 6 weeks that we get on the field in the fall is extremely valuable. Well, this year with the new turf going down at the field, it kind of pushed our start time back. And, normally we're starting right after Labor Day. Well, this year we didn't get going on the field till mid-October. And so it kind of eliminated some of our off-season strength conditioning stuff, but we really value the on-field portion of it. And I felt like it was important to get on there and get used to the turf and kind of see how it plays. And so we were on the field from mid-October until here early in November. And so we've just here recently, finished up with a couple other things and sent our guys home. But it's been an extremely competitive fall, and I like to, have a competitive component to everything that we do.
And you see it, and you do a whole lot of different type of activities with the stake series, and a lot of things to keep the guys active, because it's hard to play when there's nothing meaningful, in terms of wins and losses and, preparing for the conference. But it's important to keep those minds engaged and understand the importance of that fall season. But you mentioned the new turf and how, changing up our landscape and improving our facilities. What does that mean to your program, being able to have that new turf down?
Oh, man, I tell you what, it cleans up everything. I mean, it looks phenomenal. It cleans up the facility so much. But, selfishly, it hopefully helps with a ton with, rain outs, having to tarp on, tarp off, decision-making, with trying to get the field dry. It eliminates all of that, which is fantastic from a head coach's standpoint. And, you get some rain, and once the rain's out of there, you're back out there and you're able to play there pretty shortly thereafter. So not only does it look great, but it serves a huge purpose for us, from a competitive standpoint.
Well, it does look great. And the now RCB Bank Sports Complex is looking immaculate with both your field done and softball fields done, and the new sign out there. It just brings new life and new energy to RSU baseball. And so we're definitely really, really excited for you to get a chance to play on that. But moving into more of the player and the personnel on the team, with every year you lose really good guys, and that's the one unfortunate part about collegiate athletics. But for you, using Octavio Sanchez and AJ Fodes, two really big players in your lineup, talk about what players you're looking forward to seeing step up into these new roles of being the guy that you had to call on to make big plays. Yeah,
AJ and Octavio were really steady performers for us in their whole career here. So anytime you lose guys like that you can really trust, really rely on, it always hurts. But we've got some guys returning that were here and have been through the battles with us and know what it's about. Gio Blackshaw at first base, Jake Mitchell at third base, who had a great year last year. On the mound, we got Colton Anderson back, who's been in our rotation all year long, won some big games for us down the stretch. Landon Riley, who was an all-conference reliever, got him back. So there's some guys that have gone through and done it for you that are back, which is big. And then we've got some newcomers that we really like. A couple of guys on the infield that have played really well in the middle. So we've got some some pieces that have come in and probably exceeded our expectation. And the same thing on the pitching staff. We got a couple of guys that we feel like we can give the ball to every weekend are going to go out there and give you a chance to win. And that's what you got to have. But I feel like this is probably depth-wise the best team. You know, it's a smaller roster. We've cut the roster size down a little bit, and that was done on purpose. But I feel like there's quality depth, and there's not much fall off really anywhere on the roster. So we feel really good about who we've got.
And we're excited to see these players, especially the two that you just mentioned that are all MIAA players in Landon Riley and Colton Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what kind of expectations you have for these gentlemen who are returning, who have, a lot of expectations for them. What are you looking forward from them?
I just want them to be the best version of themselves. Last year they probably both of them came into there. Landon came in at the break. Colton was with us the year before, didn't have a great year. I don't think there were a whole lot of expectations of either one of them, probably personally or by us. And they came in and were really, really good for us on their way to all-conference recognition. And so I think the biggest thing is just not trying to do too much. Stay within yourself. Do what made you successful last year. And they're going to be better just because of the experience that they gained last year and the success that they had. If they'll just come in and be steady, be who they are, be the best version of themselves, I think they're both going to have tremendous years for us, senior years this year.
And we're looking forward to seeing them out there on the mound and dicing up these guys in the strike zone. But, with this year, you have some guys leaving, had guys leave, and so you have a lot of returners back, but you also have a lot of new faces.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some new faces that the Hillcat Nation should be on the lookout for?
Well, I think in the rotation, Kai Decker is transfer, Division I transfer. I think he's a guy that you're probably going to see on the weekends, most every weekend, starting pitcher. He was really good for us this fall, and we're excited about having him. Cole Abbott is another one, local kid from Cali County, had a nice fall for us on the mound. On the infield, Andrew Ramirez and Tyler Nelson, both had really good falls for us on the infield. Luis Fuentes, a center fielder from Bakersfield, can play anywhere in the outfield. He led us in hitting this fall. So those are just kind of some guys I think that you're going to see. Jackson Romero is another one who can play anywhere on the field, kind of a utility guy, can play in the outfield, and really he could play start at shortstop for us. He's that kind of player. And he's a guy that's probably going to be in the middle of the order somewhere. Division I transfer from Northern Colorado, had a really good fall for us as well. So those are just a couple of the guys I think that you probably want to remember their names because they're probably guys that are going to be in big situations for us.
Well, Coach, we appreciate that and get a chance to sit down and talk RSU baseball. But for another edition of Coach's Corner, I'm your host, Corey King, and for RSU baseball head coach, Chris Klimas, thank you for watching.